For today's video, we're going to look at how to edit in Sony Vegas Pro 16. This is something that isn't as hard as you think. A lot of people will see YouTubers and other editors have someone edit in the background and you see all these cuts and all these things on the screen and it just looks really complicated, but in reality it's as easy as cutting a slice of cake. Let's first of all get ourselves comfortable with Sony Vegas. Let's start off with the trimmer. The trimmer is always something that I've never really used, but if you're someone who likes to work with audio, it basically zooms into your video and your audio track will appear right here. So you have your video, your audio, and then in here you have your files which you have imported. So the other thing that I'm going to mention is Sony Vegas is very customizable. You can pop things here and there, you can move things around. If you don't like the default layout, it's really simple. You'll have these little tabs at the bottom, as you can see, video preview, trimmer, you have all of these at the bottom. You have your timeline. It is all customizable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this one, the trimmer. I don't really need it. To get to the videos, you can go to Explorer and then you can start exploring your computer from here. So you can find videos, import them, and then you'll have a project right here, a project media. This is basically all your clips and everything that you're using in your video. Next up, you'll have a tab next to it, which is transitions. This is the effects when the video swaps from one clip to another. You have video effects right here. These are all your effects that you have with Sony Vegas by default. You can install additional ones if you wanted to, same as transitions. The very last one is media generators. This is mostly for either solid images. For example, you can have patterns, you can have solid color, and you can have text, which is right here. So these are the main ones that you're really going to use. Next thing up on our screen, we have the video preview. This is basically your video. Your video will preview right here. You have these options at the top. So let's start off with the gear icon. This is your project properties. So this is where you can actually edit the video itself. You can adjust the settings. Next to that, you have the preview on external monitor. If you have an external monitor connected to your laptop, for example, you can preview it like so. You have the effects right here. So this is pretty much to add in some effects to your video. This one, I quite like this one. This is one of my favorite ones. This is basically to preview your video in half. So what I mean by this is half of it is original and the other half is the effects which you applied. Next to that, you have the preview quality. So this is, if you wanted to, you can lower the quality. This is really helpful for people like us who edit on laptops because this just helps out a lot to boost that FPS performance, to make it a little bit smoother when you edit. Next to that, you can have grid lines if you wanted to. So if you want your video to have grid lines, you can preview red color, green, blue, and all these gray scales. Then you have copy snapshot to clipboard, so you can take snapshots. And then of course you have save and you have a 360 mode, which is new with Sony Vegas Pro 16. Underneath it, you will have all the options to pause the video, to stop it, to skip, and also frame preview. You have some more options here, so if you wanted to, you can click on this one, edit the visible buttons, and you can untick, customize it, you can even hide them all. Do whatever you like. You have the information about the video right here. So this is the project, what your project is set on, what your preview is, and you have the frames and of course the display. This is the actual size that is right now. Next to the video, we have the audio, and this is the master audio. The master audio means it applies it to all your clips. So if you turn this down or turn it up, it will apply it to all your tracks. You have some other options right here. So if you wanted to, you can even open up a mixer if you're one of those professional audio creators. With the timeline, you can also zoom in. So if you scroll up, it will zoom into the timeline. If you scroll down, it zooms out. Next up, you have a few little options down here. These are the same as the top one right there, but you have some additional ones. So this is mostly for editing. When it comes to the timeline, you have two different options. You can either create yourself a video track or a audio track. So to do this, you can right click in the empty area and then insert video track, which is right here, Control, Shift and Q, or insert yourself a audio track, which is Control and Q. And to open any project, it is Control and O. And you also have preferences. So let's get ourselves a video track and let's get ourselves a audio track. You'll see all these icons by default. You can edit this by going to here and edit the visible button and just pretty much remove the things that you don't really need, the effects. So I'm going to press OK, and there you go. It is a lot more simple now. Now that I've done that, I'm also going to customize the audio one and only have the ones that I actually want. So same again last time, I'm going to hide them all and I'm going to get myself the mute and then press OK. Okay, so let's actually get ourselves a video and start to edit it. So you can either go to File and Open. This is normally for your projects, or you can go to Import. And the other way is to go to Explorer, find it in there and then just drag it in. But I like to do it this way, so get yourself the video and just drag it in. Once you have your video imported, you'll notice you have some information about it right here. And you can also preview the video by hovering your mouse cursor over the video. And this just pretty much shows you what your clip is if you want to quickly preview it. There's also a auto preview right here. So if you didn't even have this video imported, for example, like this, you can click on here and it just previews the video for you on full screen. You have some other options like swap video files, you have capture video, extract audio, and you have media properties. Alright, so we've talked about the layout, and another thing that I'm going to mention about the layout is if you wanted to, you can make it like Premiere Pro, where it is a lot more thin, where you don't have the thumbnail. To do this, you can use the option right here to zoom in or zoom out and make it smaller. Now, if you wanted to, you can do it the more simple way, and that is just drag these in like so. And that just makes them really small, except from the audio, which you might need to have at least a little bit so you can see it. So I'm just going to pop this back out. Let's start off with a very basic trim or cut the video. To split up a video in Sony Vegas, all you got to do is get yourself the main timeline line, whatever you call this thing. I don't really know it. You pretty much drag it from this side and not the top. If you want to drag the top, it will play it with audio as well, but it will play it like this. So that's more of a audio preview. If you want to, you can also do this, where you left click to the part. So let's say we want this bit here, where the audio is like that. You can zoom in and zoom out with your scroll wheel. And all you got to do is press S, and that will split up your video. This is the shortcut. This is the easiest way. And then you press it again, press delete, and then join it back together. And if we look at this, it splits up the video. You can press Ctrl and Z to undo. Before I actually start, you can go to Options and go down to Customize Keyboard. And this just pretty much shows you the shortcuts for the keyboard. And you can customize it from here. You can change the buttons if you don't prefer the way I've got it set up by default. We're going to get ourselves a few more clips so we have something to work with. Same as last time, we're going to select them and just simply drag them into here. And there you go, we've got ourselves some videos. We can preview through each one. If you wanted to, you can even click on them and preview them like this. While we're on the topic of the icons down here and the buttons, we're going to go over each one and talk about what they do. Starting off with the top one, the shuffle one is basically about if you have another clip. So if I drag myself another clip from here, for example, this one, we can use this right here. So if we click on this one and click on that one, we swap them over like so. So if you had multiple clips, you can swap between each one if you got them in the wrong order. The next one is slip. Now, what this one is a little bit more different, and it is a little bit quite confusing to get your head around. So hear me out. Right. What you got to do is with this one, we're going to drag in another clip to explain it because it just makes it a little bit easier to explain. Another thing is if you're previewing the video, just be careful if you move these white lines. For example, here, it will only give you half of the video. So move this to the beginning and it'll give you the whole thing. You can double left click on it and it will just import it for you. or you can drag it in if you wanted to. Right, so let's get ourselves a little snippet of this clip right here. So we're going to go over to here, we're going to press S, we're going to press S over here, delete the out bits, and then we're going to move on to this one. So the way that the slip tool works is like this. So we have our video here. We've edited the section, so we have ourselves this little block right here. But we don't exactly want to reopen the video, go through it all and mess about. So what we can do is we can use the slip tool, and pretty much you left click and drag it to the left or to the right. If you drag it to the left, it will go forward, so it will preview the video forward. If you drag it the other way, it'll preview it backwards. So we can pretty much look through this video and keep going until we get to a part where we're happy with. It is a little bit confusing, like I said, but you just bear with me, right? So as you can see from where my cursor is, we've went from the beginning and we went all the way to this part right here. We're driving at nighttime, and we've kept ourselves the length of it. So as you can see, the audio and the video just pretty much moved across. We've got ourselves a different section of that clip without having to trim it down and edit it. But because this is a group, it will automatically apply them to both. If you want to apply it to each one individually, you would have to press U, which will then unlink them. So it will remove them from the group, and you can then go ahead and do it. And it will tell you exactly what you've done. It will tell you that, well, this video is out of sync, so just watch out. You know what you're doing, but I'm just going to tell you that you're out of sync. Moving on to the next one, we have the slide tool. The slide tool is, well, let's say another weird one, and another weird one to get your head around. What this tool does is, let's say we've split up our video into two right here. First of all, let's put this back together. So if you want to put a video back together, you hold Shift and click on the bottom one to select them both, and then press G to create yourself a group, and now they are back together. Next up, we have the slide tool. This one is another weird one to get yourself used to. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this video in half and then move it outwards. This is a lot easier because you can actually see what it's doing. So if you get yourself the slide tool and you pretty much use it, you will see both of the clips are moving at the same time. So both of the cutouts that you've done will move simultaneously at the same time. And yes, I know I cannot say that word. It's really strange, and yeah, I honestly don't really use this tool, but I can imagine sometimes I can maybe consider using it, because if I have two videos like this, I can do this right here. So I can move both of them together, left or right, depending on what I'm wanting to do. The next one is the time stretch. This is something that I use all the time, but I do it differently because I use the shortcut for it, and it's the same thing really. But if you're someone who likes to use the mouse more, go to the time stretch, and then pretty much you can slow the video down by dragging it outwards, or you can speed it up by dragging it inwards, and it'll tell you the percentage right at the bottom. It'll say 144%. It is much quicker than normal. And you'll normally have these squiggly lines up and down, meaning that your video has been affected by it. And the very last one is the very simple and the very basic split and trim tool. Like I said before, if you're someone who prefers to split up your videos like this, you can click where you want the video to split and you split it up. Easy to use. But like I said, I like to do it the other way, which is to just press split. Makes it easier. And going back to the other one, the time stretch, if you want to do it with a keyboard, all you got to do is hold Control and then drag it in and drag it out. Simple as that. And there we go. So there's a few little tools that you can use and you've learned. So moving on to the next one, we have the envelope tool. This one is all about if you want to add, delete, or select and move certain points. So what I mean by this is if we got ourselves another clip to explain this, drag this one in. So we've got one right there. So let's just delete that one, move on to this one. You can tell I'm trying to concentrate on explaining this as best as I can for you to make it easier, because I can totally relate to some of you that are wanting to learn to edit, but you get confused, and I do too, so we're both on the same page. Let's go over to this video right here, and let's apply a velocity. If you don't know what velocity is, it's a way of slowing your video down, but in a way of a more advanced way. So if you right click on it, go to insert, which is right here, insert/remove envelope. You have velocity, freeze frame, and another one, which is right here. But we're going to get ourselves velocity. With velocity, you can move it down to slow it down, and you can move it up to speed it up. But normally, you'll just have a straight line. So let's say you wanted it to go from normal mode to slower mode. You wanted it to play from normal to slower. And you want to have a nice, smooth slowing down between it. You don't want it to just automatically go slow. We can do this by getting ourselves this option right here, and you can add yourself a point. So if you click, you will have to double left click and then double left click again. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it go from normal speed, and then we're going to drag this down to a slower speed. So it'll go from play normal to slower, but it will look a lot more smoother. The more further away you have these points, the smoother it will look, the slower it will take to actually get slower. It will have a little ramp where it will gradually get slower. If you want to, you can even apply it all the way down here. If you right click on them, you can delete the point, add yourself another one, and then move it here. You can move them left and right, up and down, wherever you want to move them. It's a way of having a tool where you can actually edit these. And yeah, that's pretty much what that tool does. If you don't want velocity with this, you can right click on it, go to insert/remove, and then untick it. So you've removed it. Next to that tool, you have another useful one, and that is the selection tool. So you can click on this one, and let's say you had quite a few different clips, import it into here, and you had all of these clips right here, and you wanted to select them all. You just left click, drag it out, and select them all. Or if you only wanted the beginning, you only select right here, or these two. Wherever you select, that's the bit it'll select. If you're stuck on the selection tool, you go back to the normal editing, and now it's back to normal. The one next to it is the zoom tool. So you can zoom in to the track. You can make them all small, or you can make them big by zooming in, and it puts them back to normal. We've covered quite a few different ones right now. You have another one next to it, and that one is about deleting. So if you wanted to, you can click on here, press delete, and it'll delete the clip. Next to that, you have the trim. If you wanted to, you can trim the video, but since you're already doing it yourself, you don't have to use it. It's a way of trimming the whole clip. One next to that is, let's say you don't want the beginning part of the video, you can trim all of it just by pressing that one button. Or let's say you didn't want all the clips afterwards, you just click on this one. So that will delete the clips after. You have the before, you have the after, and you also have the normal split. Simple as. So the next one is, let's say you have a clip that you don't want to touch. You don't want anyone to touch your clip. You don't want to edit it or do anything with it. So we're going to split this area here, and we're going to lock this one. So you can't really do anything with this one if you wanted to. You can't move it. You can't apply any effects to it. You can't do anything. It's muted. Well, it's not muted, it's locked. Okay, so we've done quite a bit of explaining. Let's make this video look a little bit more interesting. The next thing that I'm going to introduce you to is the fade in and fade out. To fade a video, you go to the end of it, and where you see the top bit, you can get yourself a fade in by dragging this outwards. You can edit the fade type by right clicking on it, and then you have all these other options. So what this represents is it will start from 0% and gradually move up. This is the normal one. This is the basic one, is this one right here. So it starts from 0%. It works its way up. You can apply it to audio as well. And to audio, I'd recommend this one because it's a little bit slower to pick up the audio. So as you can see, it's a lot nice and smooth. You can also apply it at the end as well. So right here, and then make it go out. But you also need to apply it for the other one so it looks a lot nicer. There you go. You got yourself a nice little edit right here. Alright, so now that we've got ourselves an actual video, a little project going, we're going to save it by either pressing Ctrl and S, or you can go to File and Save As. You have some other buttons up here as well, so you have the Save and you have Render As. We're going to press Save. We're going to give it a name, so we're going to call it our example test project and press Save, and there we go. Now we have it saved. Let's talk about some of the other tools as well down here, right near the end, because these are quite useful as well. So another one that I use all the time is the marker tool. The marker tool is a way of adding yourself a marker point. So if you press M on your keyboard, you add yourself a marker. You can give it a name. So let's say intro of the video. This is the intro right here. So this is number 1. And then at the end here, we're going to press M again. This is going to be clip 2. If you wanted to, the one next to it is a loop region. So a loop region is pretty much a way of creating a section where it will either preview it or you can only render that certain area. So let's say render this. So now that we've created a loop region and we double left click to select the loop region, we go to render as, and we can set it so it only renders the loop region. If we go to render options, loop region only, and it will only render the bits inside of here. If you wanted to remove it, you right click on it and go to delete, and you can move this one back. Yeah, it's deleted it, but sometimes it will keep this right here. You can't really get rid of it. Another thing about the timeline is you can move with the hand tool right here, move back and forth. Moving on to the next thing, we have the enable snapping. This allows you to snap the videos together. So for example, if we look at this video, it snaps onto this one. If you didn't want it to do this, you would untick this one and it will just go through it. It won't really snap on or snap off to it. Next to that one, we have crossfade. Crossfade is when the two videos play from one to another. So as you can see, they are merged together. So what's going to happen is if you right click on here, you can change the fade type and it will pretty much play from one clip to another. But if you untick this, it won't allow you to do it. So if you try to, it will just put it on top of it. Next to this one is if you wanted to, you can apply it so it only affects the before or the after. This is the auto ripple. So it will automatically move contents of the timeline after performing edits that add or remove time. The next one is all about the envelope effects. So if you go to envelope, you untick this one, it won't lock it. And the very last one is all about ignoring groups. So let me show you what I mean by this is if we split this video up, you can see it is 3 different groups. You have this group here, you have this one and this one. They all contain the video and the audio and they are grouped together. So if we wanted to, let's say we wanted to move this backwards and crossfade it to the clip before, it'll move both of them together and we don't want that. So we're going to click on this one and we're going to move only the top one and it will tell you that you're out of sync once again. So just be prepared. If you do this, you will be out of sync. But if you have this audio muted, if you go to properties, mute the audio, and then it won't really make much of a difference anyway. And yeah, it just ignores the group. It ignores the fact that you have a group. Speaking of groups, I'm going to show you how to create yourself a group. So if you split up the video, split it right here, and let's say you have these two which are separate. You have the audio and you have the clip by itself. You click on the top one, click on the bottom one, or select the ones that you want. You can even use the selection tool if you wanted to, like so. And then you press G, and now these are all grouped together. So if you go back to normal editing, you'll move them all together. You've got yourself a group. If you want to do the opposite to this and ungroup them, it is really simple. All you do is select the ones that you want to ungroup and then press U and now you will see you've ungrouped the tracks which were together. But keep in mind, if you want to put them back together, once again, press G and you've got yourself a normal group. So with the track itself, there's a few things that you need to know about it. The levels of this basically means it is the opacity of the layer. So if you wanted to, you can make it 38% or you can make it 100%. You just slide it up and down. You can either do it that way or you can slide this from the top, move it up and down. You have the mute button right here, so that's what we just enabled, and the mute button will mute the track. You have the solo will pretty much play it by itself. You have the composition options, which is right here. This is really useful. This is basically all the different effects you have. Whichever one you apply it to, it will pretty much affect both or all of your track layers. So for example, if we get ourselves a video track on top and we get ourselves a solid, so if we go over to here and get ourselves a solid red color, we exit out of that and then we get ourselves a add. This will add it to our video. If we get subtract, it'll subtract it. If we put it to mask, it'll mask it, and so on. So you can have source alpha is the main one, so that's original. You have cut, this will just cut the whole thing out. You have screen and so on. And this is a way of creating yourself some effects. So the other things that you have is if you right click on it, you can rename it, or you can just click here, give a name. So let's just call this main video. And same again, we can do it with the audio, main audio, so you know what track is what. You can change the color of it if you want to. So if you right click on it, go to track display color right here. So let's say this is going to be red. With the audio, it's basically the same, but you have two different things. So you have the option right here to change the volume. You have a volume slider right here, so it will only apply it to this track right here. You can either do it this way, or you can either turn this one down from here. And this will make it quieter or make it louder. But this one will apply to all of it. This will only apply it to this clip right here. So I can put it back to normal, back to default. If you double left click on it, put it back to 0. And then the next one is pan. Pan slider is all about which side of the ear you want to play it. Normally you have it in the middle, but if, for example, you had a clip where the audio is on the left side, you slide it over to the left, or if you had it on the right side, you slide it over to the right. You have the percentage as well, so it'll be 42% more to the right or 55% more to the left. So another thing that I found quite useful with the new Sony Vegas Pro 16, it is really cool, so I'm going to go over it because I feel like it's necessary, and that is if you right click on it and go down to insert envelopes. Normally with an envelope, you have it on the video, but this time they've made it so you can actually apply it for the track layer itself. So if you insert, for example, mute, you get yourself this bar or this line at the top where if you drag it down, it mutes the whole thing. You can add yourself a point if you right click, add point, and then right click, add another point, and then you can drag this down and it will only mute the area inside here. So this is quite useful because if you have a long video that you want to mute it, you don't have to be destructive. All you do is just add this, or if you want to remove the whole thing, you right click on here, go to the insert/remove, and then remove it. The composite level, let's say we add ourselves this again, and we got ourselves a effect. It's all good until you actually preview the rest of it, and you don't really want that, you only want this bit here. So to fix it up, you go in here, insert, and then get yourself a composite level. Same again, you've got this line here, add yourself a point, add yourself another point, and then get yourself another point here, move this down. If you wanted to, you can even move it forward, like so. If you wanted it to have a fade where it goes from 0 to applying the effect, you can do that. Get yourself another one, move all of this down, move this one across, and there you go, it's level. And now it doesn't apply it for the rest of it. It only applies it for this area right here. You also have one for the fade color. So if you want to fade the color, this one is more about the actual fade itself. So if you wanted to create yourself fade without using the actual fade button itself, you can get yourself the fade effects by doing this. Add a point, move it up, for example, and there you go. 200%, 25, let's put it to no color right here, and there you go. If you had this at the top, it will be white, So it'll play from that and smoothly play like so. So let's actually edit this video. We've been talking quite a lot about the different tools. We're going to move this one over here. You can always move clips by left clicking and dragging them out. And then we're going to get ourselves, we're going to click here, and then we're going to double left click on this one. So we're going to make it like a little intro. Remove the audio from this. So if you click on the audio and press U, press delete, it only deletes the audio. So we're going to get ourselves a nice little intro. Now what we need is a transition. You need to first of all crossfade them. So if you drag this like so, and you have the little time right here, so you can drag it to as long as you want. We're just going to quickly have a look at this, and that is quite smooth. I quite like that. I'm going to put it to this one. And let's just have a look through some of the templates. So we have zoom, we have some of these. I'm looking more for a color one or a flash. So I think I might go with a color morph right here. So fast red. You just pretty much drag it into crossfade right here and you'll see it's now changed. You have the options right here so you can change them. You can change the color or the speed right in there. Actually, let's just remove the whole audio for this because we're gonna add in some music. So if you press U, delete this one. Maybe this one might work. If we just have a look at it. Doesn't look too bad. That does work. Like I said before, if you want to trim a video, you press S on your keyboard and then press S again. Press delete. We can get ourselves the selection tool, select all of this. You can either do it that way, or you can click on this one and then hold shift and click on the other ones, select them all and move them backwards like so. You can also move marker points by clicking on them. We're going to add another one, so press M, end of video. We're going to also add a crossfade to this clip right here. So it smoothly cuts the video rather than just going so quick. I'm going to set it to this one. Ooh. It kind of skips it there a little bit. Let's see if another one works better. For example, this one. I'm going to press save. We're going to move the clip 2 to the here. We're going to get ourselves another marker point by pressing M, end of video. We've got ourselves a nice little video here with a fade in, with a fade out. We got some crossfade. We've got a nice transition. If we wanted to, we can even apply an effect. So if we go to video effects, which is the next one on the list. The video effects are really simple. They are the same as transitions. You just pretty much look through them and you apply it to the video itself. You'll have these buttons right here. So the button for the effects is right here. That's the FX button. And you also have the options one where you can edit the buttons. So if you want to, you can add some other buttons and so on. But normally, event effects, event pan/crop, and general media is the most useful ones to have. So let's go to a color correction and let's go with, let's say, a bright blue at the beginning. We can easily edit this to make it, we can change the low to more of purple. We can increase the saturation as well by going here. And then let's get ourselves a brightness and contrast as well, because why not? Darker one right here. And just pretty much mess about with the, right, so this one we're going to set on 0. And then the contrast, just increase it a little bit more. And there we go, that is looking a lot nicer. If you want to see the before and after, you click on this one and it shows you the before, and this is the after. Not too bad, I quite like that one. I'm actually going to save that one. So if you go to the effects, we're going to call this one, let's say, blue tint effect. Give it a name, press save, and now you will have yourself a nice little template in here. So if next time you open it up, the blue tint effect. If we wanted to, we can even apply it to this one. So this one looks quite dry. That one looks a lot nicer. And you know what? While we're at it, why not get ourselves some nice cinematic bars? So Moving on to the next one, we have the event/crop. This one allows you to edit the video itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold Control and drag these down like so, and get ourselves some nice cinematic bars. You want to click on this one, press Ctrl C. You want to click on this one and delete that one, and then move this one back to here. The reason for this is so it only applies what we've just applied to it. We're going to go over to this one and do the same. So we'll go to over here, and you want to press Ctrl V, and there we go. Press save. Next up, we're going to get ourselves some music. So we have a copyright-free music here. We're going to drag this into the project. You just want to drag it in and then drag it underneath it. We're going to preview this music over here so we can see what we want. Another important thing that you must do is get yourself a fade in, because if you don't, it will automatically start playing. So this just makes it smoother. So it starts from nothing to smooth. You can adjust the audio if you wanted to, make it a little bit quieter or louder, depending on what you're wanting. Okay, it's looking not too bad so far, but I think I'm only going to have the beginning of this video. Cut up the audio from here by pressing S. You can zoom in by using the scroll wheel, and we're going to cut it just about here. So press S, and then we're going to delete this, move this back, crossfade this one, and we're going to use this one. So if we actually look at this, and then now we have a little build up, so we can add more clips if we wanted to, but we are out of clips, so we're just going to pretty much end it right there. And then we're going to split it, press delete, give it a fade out, and give it this one right here. So if we just have a look at this. Okay, so I've just spotted a little mistake. As you can see, this one has the brightness and contrast and this one doesn't. So we need to keep it the same. That is one editing mistake I've done right there. Go back to brightness and contrast, get yourself the darker one. You want to pretty much copy the settings from this one. To make it a lot easier, we're going to call this one slightly contrast. And then we're going to save it, close it down. We're going to go back to this one. We're going to delete this one. And then in here, we should see our own. If we click off it and click on it again, slightly contrast right there. Apply it onto here. Sometimes the order of it as well matters. So you can see the effects you have here. You can always switch between them, move them back and forth, so just keep that in mind. So we're going to apply it to this one as well, so they're all the same. It's looking not too bad right now. There's one more thing that we're going to add, and that is some text. So if you right click, go to video track, get yourself a video track, and we're going to add ourselves some text. If you go to media generators and go to legacy text right here, drag this in, and let's put, we're going to click over here so we can actually see it. We definitely need a different font. We're going to make it a lot more smaller. You can skip through them if you click on one of them and then use the scroll wheel to go down. I think for now we'll just stick to this one because it looks quite cool and interesting. So once you've got yourself the first text, you can move it back here. We can even give this one a fade right here. Right click on it, change the fade type. We're going to cut it about here. Press S, press delete, press Ctrl C, and then Ctrl V to paste it. And you want to make sure it's ticking this one to get yourself a new copy. You don't want to have it so it's a reference, because the reference will copy over what you've got from the other one. So you want to press OK. To edit the text, you go into this option right here and you type in, okay, that's not going to work for me, a few letters from the beginning. So I typed in BRU and it came up with this one. That one seems okay. We're going to edit the properties in here. If you go to effect, you can edit the shadow effect in the background. So if you move it, we put it a little bit, and we turn down the feathering a little bit more. We can turn down the opacity as well if we wanted to, like here, put it to 81. We're going to make them fade, so crossfade them, Put it to this one. Press S, press delete, get yourself another copy, press Ctrl V, press OK. Alright, so that's pretty much quite a lot I've talked about. I'm not going to make this video any longer, but I've pretty much showed you most of the things that you need to know anyway. I'll be making separate videos if you want to learn more advanced stuff and so on. So now we have a few options. We've already saved it. You can press save just in case to make sure. And next up is to render it. So you can either share it directly to YouTube by going to File and then go down to Share Online. And then you have the options between Facebook, Vimeo, and YouTube. If you're going to upload it to YouTube, it will automatically pick up what your account is signed into and it will upload it. Before you actually render this, you need to make sure that you have the correct settings for it. So if you go to this icon right here and make sure that everything is correct. So this is a 4K video. It's at 25 frames per second. It is 8-bit. We don't need any of this. You double left click to create a loop region. We're going to pre-render this clip and then render it. So to pre-render is you save it, close it down, create a new project, go to File, import media, and then get yourself the example. So it's right there. This will pre-render it. A message might come up saying this, just press OK. And then you want to drag this in and put it in here like so. Double left click. Another thing I like to do as well is I like to go to View, go to Window, and then hide the video preview. Go to File, Render As, and then this is where you have to mess about with the settings. So by default, I've got a filter, so they're my favorites, but normally you have the best format, which is right here. I'll do some more render settings if you would like on my channel. And yeah, we can select this one right here, 4K 20 FPS right here. Give it a name, for example, test video example. And then once you're happy with everything, you press render. And the video is pretty much done, so you can open the folder and there's your video. You can preview it in here. I will see you all next time if you stick around. Bye.